Now, once we have our probability distribution given and our histogram of our probability distribution drawn, and we want to find the expected value and the standard deviation, we have a couple options. We can find the expected value and standard deviation using the formulas that they give us for probability distributions, or we can use graphing calculators in order to find them. If we use the formulas for the expected value and the standard deviation, you just want to remember what the notation means and follow through on it. So here for the expected value, you want to take each random variable and multiply it to its probability. You want to get the products for each of the random variables and their probabilities throughout the problem, and then add all of those values up, and that gives you the expected value. To find the standard deviation using the formula, you'd have to take each random variable, subtract from it the expected value that you found before, get a number, square it, and then multiply that by its own probability. And you do that process for each of your random variables, add the total up of those values, and then take the square root, and that would be your standard deviation. And then again, if they asked you the variance, you would just square the standard deviation. Now, another option is for you to use your graphing calculators. On the TI-84s or 83s, if you push Stat, and then in the menu it says Edit, so you push Enter on the Edit part, it will give you lists, L1, L2, etc. And what you want to do is enter the random variables in list 1 and the probability of those random variables in list 2. So here we would put 0, 1, 2, and 3 in our list 1, and we would put our probabilities, our 0.0250, our 0.513, 0.450, and 0.0125 in our list 2. Now, once we have that entered, we want to push the Stat button again. So I'll come down here and write out the information. We'll push the Stat button again, but then we'll cursor right one so that it sits on the Calc option. And when it's on the Calc option, the very first thing that's highlighted is one var stats. So push Enter to pick that, and it'll say one var stat on the screen. And after it, it's waiting for you to enter if you've put information into more than one list. So while it's there, then you want to push second and your 1 key, and that'll access L1. Then the comma that's above the 7, and second the 2 number, and that will give you L2. So your screen will actually look like this. And then when you push Enter there, you'll get a whole list of the information about the numbers that you entered in list 1 and list 2. And it's accessed it as the values in list 1 and information about probability or frequencies in list 2. Now here you'll see that the mean X bar is 1.45. It's at the very top. And there won't be anything next to S sub x for this situation because the calculator has recognized that your probabilities add up to 1, so it figures you have the entire population. But it will list for sigma sub x, and it comes out to be about 0.56789 for your standard deviation. So these are the numbers that you would report. Your expected value is 1.45. Your standard deviation is 0.56789. In our text, they suggest that we round to just 1 digit beyond what our data is when we report expected value and standard deviation. So our values rounded would be 1.5 and 0.6 for those values. Now, if we're going to use them in calculations, though, we want to use them several digits beyond what it is that we want to report in. And this Part D is going to require us to do that. If the average book costs $135, and how much can you expect to spend if you take 4 courses? Well, if you're going into the bookstore, you have 4 courses. You know on average they're going to cost about $135 a book. And you know that on average you'd be expected to have to get about 1.45 books that would be required from taking courses at that college. So you would expect to spend the 4 courses times the average books that are required per course, the 1.45, times the cost per book, the average cost per book, which is $135. And so when you multiply those 3 numbers together, you get that you would expect to spend about $783 in books.